Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a watch video for you. And today I've got something really, really cool to show you. This is my MTG B10001A4. And I did a little looking around, and the 1A4 seems to indicate there's a Mudmaster 1A4 and it has the same color scheme. So that must be a way of designating color scheme. There are a number of variants of this. There's a black handle, a black strapped one. There are a couple of metal strapped, like bracelet versions of this that all fall into the MTG series. They all seem to have similar functionality. Obviously, the color schemes are going to be different, but you see quite a few blue ones out there. You don't see as many of these red ones. It says if you search this up and look on the Gshock website, these are limited edition. So anyway. That's all well and good. Just want to point out that this is, in the higher designation of G-Shocks. So, there's a wide range of available models from G-Shock. And actually, this is one of the things that, I haven't been a watch guy for all that long, but when I first started paying attention to watches and started looking at different things, I was kind of flabbergasted to see how high in price Casio watches and G-Shock watches can go. But this is going to be in that higher category, although still a step down from the MRG series. So G-Shocks, take their name from this idea that they can take an impact, and all of the G-Shocks make that sort of their claim to fame, from the very cheapest, $75 ones all the way up to these. Now, what they do say on these watches is that there's extra shock resistance. So, if you have this on your wrist and it gets a certain level of shock versus this on your wrist and it gets a certain level of shock versus this on your wrist, presumably this one would do the best. Now, I can tell you I am not going to test that out. I'll take G-Shock's word for it. But if there's someone watching this who wants to, like, I don't know, slam their wrist in a car door, or, jump from a high building or something to see if the watch survives, more power to you. Let me know how that turns out, because I would be curious to know whether these really can take more impact than the other versions. For my money, I'm going to believe G-Shock. And, essentially, if you're running or working or, anything physically demanding where you're moving around a lot, I could see the value in that ability to have some shock resistance. Okay. Now, what this does have, what all the MTG series has, to my knowledge, is not unique to them. There are other G-Shocks that have this, but they do have Bluetooth connectivity to your phone. So you get it download a G-Shock app, and then you can use the app to set the time, set the world time, set the time zone, all the stuff that you would normally need to do using the settings on the watch. Now, by the way, you can do that with the settings on the watch. It's a screw down crown. So I'll just pop this up for you so you can see. There we go. And then what's going to happen is when that crown releases, so there it is, if you pull out once, there we go. That's going to show you where your world time is set, and you're doing that by, let's make sure you guys can see all these. If you look closely around the dial, you can see I just leave it at UTC or Greenwich Mean Time, because I don't particularly need to know another time zone. But if you're traveling, it's a really, really nice feature to have. And then if you pull it one more time, all right, now it's going to show you what time zone you're in. So I've got this in the same time zone as New York City, or Eastern Standard Time. Okay, and then you can just pop that back in. There we go. And it's going to go back to normal, and we'll screw this back down. All right, the world time is this 6 o'clock subdial down there, and so that's going to be showing for my watch UTC or Greenwich Mean Time, but you could obviously set that to whatever you wanted it to be. I will say it is cool. This also does so in addition to being able to connect to your smartphone and take the time from there, it will also connect to multiband 6, so all of the atomic clock radio signals that are available. You do need to have it in the right time zone, though, because it'll connect to that at night if it's in a place that it's available and you've reminded it to do that. then it will take the time from there. But if you've got the wrong time zone, then it's gonna set your watch wrong all the time. Okay, so you do have to have it in the right time zone. The other thing is in between connections, if you move through different time zone and it's the middle of the day and it's going to normally try to connect at night, so it's not going to switch time zones. You'll have to do that manually unless um, yeah. So you'll have to do that manually as you're driving around. As I say, unless you're connected to your phone, which is what I was going to go where I was going next with this. If you have this connected to your phone, which I do, then as your phone changes the time, it will automatically change the time for you. All right. In addition to this, we have some typical watch stuff that we want to make a point of. So this has sapphire glass. It's spherical glass, which is also coated for reflection. 200-meter water resist. It does have the tough solar, which I really, really enjoy. You can sort of see the carbon fiber back there on the solar panels. This is a really, really great way of powering watches. I'm surprised we don't see it more. I've got a couple of other watches that have this. All right, so here we have my Casio Nighthawk, which is, of course, the Eco Drive, and my Casio, this Citizen Nighthawk, which is Eco Drive, and my Casio Oceanus, which has the solar connectivity. This is the T200 on the Oceanus. So won't spend a lot of time on this, but I do love the solar functionality, and I just find that's an easy, natural way to keep your watch powered up. The way this works, to add a little bit of extra detail to this, so if you have a full battery charge, and I'll show you the functions in a second, you'll see this happen. But if you have a full battery charge, you can throw this in a drawer for like a long time, 18 months or something, and it'll be fine. If the battery starts to get low, or I mean, if you leave it in longer than that, it'll die and you'd have to go set it in the sun for a couple days to get it back and kind of reconfigure everything. But short of the 18 months or approximately 18 months, you know, take it out, put it on your wrist, and it'll realize that it's not in power saving mode anymore. As soon as it starts moving around, it'll set itself to the right time. And as long as, let's say you leave it for a year, well, if you did that, I would go ahead and put this in a sunny spot for a day or two to get full charge. And we will see in a second when I start showing you the functions, um, where you'll see that battery charge indicator whenever you kind of cycle through the modes. All right. Now, the other subdial, so I've talked about this subdial being world time. The 12 o'clock subdial is going to be 24-hour time. And then the 9 o'clock subdial is going to have a couple of different things going on. So let's see if I can zoom in here. So there you can see it's showing the day of the week. It's got the battery indicator. And then over here, it has the mode that you're in. All right. So let me go ahead and switch through the modes. So the first thing is going to be a stopwatch, and you're going to start the stopwatch and reset the stopwatch like that. Next is a timer. So same idea, start and stop the timer and reset like that. Hold on, you can see here that the alarm, the hands are covering the alarm there, but I have no alarms on this. I don't use my wristwatches for alarms because I don't wear the same one every day, and I often take it off. And what good is alarm doing going off in my watch box, right? So the last thing it'll do is it'll show you there's your battery indicator, and then it'll return back to standard functioning. All right, so there's a quick rundown through the modes. It does have a pretty effective light. You can see it comes down from whoops, sorry guys. It turns on from the bottom left side there. And it also has a pretty effective lume. So let me see if I can just show you that really quick. Okay, I've got it pretty dark in here. Doesn't want to focus because the darkness is messing it up. There we go. But you can see pretty decent lume on the hands as well as the time indices. All right, let's get some lights turned back on. Okay, so here we are back with some light. We've taken a quick look at that lume. I want to quickly run down the size here. So this is 55.8 millimeters, 51.7, and 14.4 thick. It weighs in at 123 grams or 4.3 ounces. All right. Um, and so that pretty much covers all of the specs on this watch. I do want to comment a little bit just on the construction. So you can see this is all metal with a really nice polished, I'm assuming DLC coating. It is combined with resin here. The straps are doing the typical, this is, G-Shock stuff where, here's my Mudmaster. They're kind of locked in this position. You can also see this is quite a bit smaller than a Mudmaster. Let's do that side by side while I've got them both right here. Okay. And it is actually pretty comfortable. So let me pop this on. And then the last thing we'll do is a couple of quick comparisons. There you go. So there it is on the wrist. And it definitely wears a little smaller than this guy, but not much. This is a surprisingly comfortable watch. But I do want to take this back off and give you some side-by-side comparisons with a couple of other options. All right. Another sort of metal, really tough watch that I have and enjoy is my Victorinox Inox. So there they are side by side. You can see fairly similar, other than the Inox being considerably simpler. And the Inox has the bezel that can be set as a dive watch. This obviously doesn't have that feature. And, frankly, not a great dive watch. It's just a little too busy on the face there. Here it is beside another favorite G-Shock. This is the GA 2100. Quite a bit more substantial than the 2100. The size itself is not that much bigger, but this is much thinner and going to be a fair bit lighter. Again, I'll pull that Mudmaster in since, I can see someone who likes Mudmasters being interested in this. I do want to bring in again my Citizen Nighthawk. This is a watch that I absolutely love. And I will say, I feel like I have to say this every time, this is much more visible in person than it looks like on camera. But I know some have complained about the visibility. Honestly, it's never really bothered me. I've always had no issue seeing it. Maybe as I age or if I needed glasses or something, that might change. But at least at this point, I have no problem seeing the face of the Nighthawk. And then I want to bring in this guy at the last because, of course, both of these are Casios. Both of these are like higher end, really nice finish, all the features and functionality that you want in a nicer watch. They do have one thing in common, and that is neither one of these are watches that someone's going to look at and be like, oh man, you spent so much money on that watch, or it's they're going to want to steal it or anything like that, because they don't look crazy expensive. And I mean, they're not in terms of watches. These are pretty affordable watches. But they're expensive enough that you don't want to have them stolen. You don't want to lose them. And depending on what kind of person you are, I personally don't like wearing or even doing anything that is showing off any kind of wealth. One, because I don't have any, and two, just because I don't think that's a good look. Okay, so these are, I think, really good options if you're someone who likes a watch, wants to be satisfied and take some pride of ownership in the watch that you're wearing, but don't want to be flashy or show-offy. All right, so back to my conclusions. We've gone through some comparisons. We've gone through most of the functions and features. What are my overall thoughts on this watch? I think this is a gorgeous watch. I love the color scheme. I love the finishes. I love the features. I love the toughness and that sort of tactical look that it has. That admittedly is not going to appeal to everyone. Okay, so this is more for the G-Shock fanboy. In this price range, there are tons and tons and tons of watches that lots of people are going to like better. Okay. But for me, this really suits my preferences and my personality. And I think you can probably pick up on that just by the other watches that I had for comparison. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you think of this watch down in the comments below. Is this a watch that, these are expensive. I think they retail for around a 900 or 1000, 900 US, more, higher than that than in Canada, 11 or 1200 in Canada. Um, that's not what I got this for, but nonetheless, is that a crazy amount of money to pay for a G-Shock, or do you feel like, hey, that's okay given the quality and the functionality that this has? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. That's a huge help, and we will talk to you soon.